Welcome, listeners and viewers far and wide, from Pittsburgh to Williamsburg. I'm Eirik Gislason, Associate Broker and Team Leader of the Excelsior team at Brown Harris Stevens, Master Certified Negotiation Expert and Instructor, founder of Archway Partners Coaching, and your host of Shear Line Negotiation Mastery, the podcast bound and determined to reclaim and restore the good name of negotiation and unlock the door to value creation, win-win solutions, and the true power of integrative negotiation. Now, today's topic is going to hit home for a lot of you in our audience, especially because a career in real estate tends to be a second or third career, a second or third option, and for many people who enter the industry. And that was certainly true for me. I was transitioning from a not-so-successful career as an actor, bartender, and waiter after a series of injuries and some hand-to-mouth living. And that transition was hard. Actually, it was brutal, really brutal, much more difficult than I ever anticipated. Yes, I had developed the tolerance to accept failure and rejection as an actor, but merely accepting failure does not develop or define a successful career. It definitely required taking a few steps back and ultimately to land on a 20-year career and counting. It required a serious commitment to getting better every day. It required building skills, developing confidence, learning how to serve clients, and becoming competent enough to create value and demonstrate that value. I often look back on my acting career and wonder if I had the same commitment to excellence as a performer that I eventually developed as a real estate professional, if I had the discipline and the same patience, the willingness to study, practice, and improve, who knows what I might have accomplished on stage. Or maybe I just wasn't that talented. Well, today we have someone here that has that career, and we're gonna get into what it takes to navigate and negotiate success and failure. And we're gonna do that right after this break.
I'm Mark Lawrence, a founding partner of Worldwide Land Transfer. As a former real estate agent and attorney, I understand this business from every angle. We specialize in the complex transactions that define the luxury market: trust, LLCs, estates, and inherited properties. For more information, contact me directly at 917-204-5363.
All right, and we are back. Now, Mike Cannon, my good friend Mike Cannon, is a man of many incredible talents and accomplishments. He's a Broadway, television, and touring actor, singer, and dancer with a more than 25-year career and experience on the stage and screen. Mike has appeared in multiple Broadway productions and national tours, including Tommy, West Side Story, A Chorus Line, Aladdin, Mamma Mia, and All Shook Up, just to name a few. And his television audiences may know him best as Detective Maldonado on Law & Order: Organized Crime. Mike is also the owner and co-founder of the Broadway Edge, a company offering theater and television classes to students across the country, helping them develop the craft, confidence, technique, and on-camera skills that are needed to stand out. And in addition to his acting career, Mike also spent time as a real estate professional, making that transition during one of the most difficult markets imaginable. And as you can probably guess, he found success there too. But all of that success on stage, on screen, in business, and in life didn't happen without drive, without courage, without effort, without competence, reinvention, and his fair share of setbacks. So I'm excited to get into all of it. Mike, welcome to Shear Line. It's about time.
Thank you so much for having me. And first off, not successful as an actor. Come on, Eirik. You were so successful. Well, I guess it depends on how you...
It's all relative.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember you entertaining many a folk on tour together.
Yeah.
And you were just on your journey, right?
That's right. That's right. I mean,
all that led to where you are now. So it was all worth it.
So true.
And yep,
I wouldn't
that
change
was your
it.
path.
I wouldn't change
so.
a thing. And we met on tour now over 25 years ago on a little production of Grease. And that's where we met, and we've been friends ever since. But your career, I've always admired your career because you did what so few actors are able to do. You've done what so few actors are able to do. And for many of us, we do end up transitioning out. It was an amazing time. I loved it. I loved the experience. But at some point, you start to make decisions to say, all right, I've got to make a pivot.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you had those moments along the way as well, and course corrections, different stages in your career. So I want to get into all of that because it's interesting to me how people continue on, how people decide to do something else, bag it in, pack it up, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I guess generally the first thing that I'd have to say about kind of like push it, you have to push through those moments where you're not, I guess, quote unquote, being successful in your career, right? And I always thought that like failure is such a tough word, because really like you can, I guess, again, quote unquote, fail at something, but the only way that's a bad thing is if you don't learn from it.
Right.
So like the failure, like in acting especially, is part of the journey, and you are constantly correcting your course and learning from the shows that you don't get. Like, I have 7 Broadway shows in 20 years, but over that 20-year span, I probably didn't get 110, 120. Like, so I don't talk about that.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, everyone, guess how many shows I did not get?
Yeah.
So you talk about, the successes, but those are the ones that you say, okay, why didn't I get that one? And you kind of go back and think, okay, I could have done this better, or I couldn't have done anything better. It just wasn't my show.
Right.
So like those are the kind of things that you have to push through and not say, well, I didn't get it. I didn't get my Broadway show within my first week, my first month, first year, first 5 years. And that's it.
Yeah.
Like if that is your dream and your goal and your passion, then you continue to move forward and say, I'm going to learn every single day. I'm going to work every single day, to gain that success.
Okay. So, you mentioned 7 Broadway shows over a 20-year career, but not to mention your, the having a reoccurring character on Law and Order show. But that's in that 20 years, I look at it, and I'm sure the audience looks at it and says 7 Broadway shows is an incredible amount of, and some of them were long stints, right?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of success in a short amount of time. But can you kind of just walk us through your career a little bit, just kind of, and some of the times that the audience might not know that, okay, I did this and that was great and I was riding high, and then there was this moment where I was
the ups and downs,
where some of the downs were happening.
Yeah, which is crazy because spending time in real estate, the ups and downs are big too. Like you can't always control what's happening around you. You can only control yourself and your projection, right? So when I have those down times, that is the time to kind of refocus, get back to work, and like make a plan. Like, so you have like your tasks daily, the things you have to get done to progress, and then you have your goals either daily or weekly or monthly, and then you have your dreams.
Yeah.
So like tasks, goals, and dreams is like kind of like how you package it, or I package it to say, okay, these are the things that I can work on, so that when like your work ethic and an opportunity cross paths,
right,
you can achieve success, rather than I wasn't ready because I haven't been working for a month and I just decided to, woe is me, or like, I'm kind of, and you can be upset about it. And like, I'm always upset when I'm not working. The working is the best for me. Like the working is the vacation.
Right.
But at that time when you're not working, you have to like put in the, like the grunt work, kind of like, what you don't see. I always talk about like my older son, he's 18, he was playing sports, and he's like, he's all about like the touchdown celebrations. Like, you don't know what it took for that guy just to get on the field, let alone get the touchdown. You don't just get to celebrate the hard work, the 6 a.m. workouts. Those are the things that people don't see. And that's the work that you have to put in when no one's watching.
Yeah.
To improve, so that again, when the opportunity arises, you meet it with your work ethic and you find success.
So you talk about all the stuff that happens behind the scenes. In your experience with the people that you've performed with, is that pretty common? Are actors on stage and on screen, are they pretty disciplined in general, or?
Yeah. No, I mean, to get to that level, I mean, you've had to put in years and years and years of work. I started late. I was 16 when I did my first show in high school, and I knew I had to play a lot of catch up. And I was kind of like, I was a little naive. That helped.
That helps, yeah.
You know, and I was young, so I knew I had time to put in the work. But also, like, my first day of college, I remember the professor saying, you know, everyone's coming in here at a different level. And I could see people that had been, you know, I knew from around, I'm from Pittsburgh, and I knew from around town, like, what they had done and how great they were. And they said, you're all coming in at a different level. And so I was a little intimidated. They're like, but we've seen it time and time again. 4 years you have here to study and to focus and put in the work, you know, to make yourself better, to compete out in the world. He said, if you spend every single day working hard, you will be able to achieve that success. If you're coming in here, I'm the best in the class and I know it, and you're not going to put in the work, after 4 years, you're going to see how that shifts. And I said, oh, well, if it's just about putting in hard work, I could do that.
Right.
Like, maybe I'm not as great of an actor, a singer, a dancer as all these people, but I know I can work harder.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not always about competition, but when you're kind of basing yourself off of who else is out there and the successful people, then you do kind of say, okay, how can I get to their level in my own way? And so, so I took that to heart, and I was like, all right, well, I can work hard. And,
I can speak personally to this difference in work ethic, because I remember when you were just about to finish college. So when we went on tour, you were younger than I was by a few years.
And I still am.
It's still are. Isn't that someday you're going to catch up. I can feel it. But yeah, I mean, you were young, but there was a difference in the work ethic. There was absolutely a difference. So that 5 years later, I'm heading out of the business and you're heading to Broadway didn't surprise me. But, you know, I think that there's some correlation. You talked about how the similarities between acting and real estate, and there are so many. And I think that idea that a lot of people don't know what's happening behind the scenes, and that there is a lot of discipline for the people who do well. It's the same thing in real estate. I think from an outside looking in, it looks like something where people are just flying around doing quick deals, and it's really about how many TikTok followers you have, you know, and it's like, and that idea that like anybody can be successful in real estate when you know the people on stage and the people making a career in real estate are the ones that are like buckling down and doing the work.
It's the behind the scenes stuff. And I especially saw that because I was in real estate during COVID, and you know, you're in your office, in your house, or like at your kitchen table, and you're looking at this screen, and you're looking at the MLS. You're like, what am I doing? Or what am I? You could feel like all over the place. So that's why the whole, like, you know, tasks and goals and dreams comes into play, because it at least gives you like a kind of a funnel, or like a runway to say, okay, like I can achieve this in a day. I can achieve these tasks. Yeah. So you start to like talk about yourself positively. I finished that today.
Huge.
You know,
right?
that's like the main thing, is to like, you know, along this journey, working hard. Yeah. But it's not like always like beating yourself up. Yeah. It's not like always squatting 500 pounds. It's like also doing the stretching and the breathing and you know, telling yourself, hey man, you did a great job today. Like look in the mirror. I did all those tasks today. I'm one day closer to my goals and my dreams. So like that's a big part of it, is giving yourself a way to achieve things when there isn't something set for you to achieve.
Yeah. And that's, you know, again, the correlation between real estate and performance. There's nobody telling you that you've got to do this next. Yeah. There's nobody telling you that, hey, you've got to do X, Y, unless you have a coach, and there's you do X, Y, and Z, and that might be able to help you get to the next level. But you still have to own it, even if you have an acting coach or you have a real estate coach. Were there times when you were in a show, and let's say that's a long run or something that you were doing for a long time, where you felt yourself getting complacent, where you're like, okay, I'm doing this 8 times a week. At what point does this end without me saying it ends, or at what point do I call it and go, I'm moving on to the next thing?
Yeah, that is the scary thing, right? Is like, especially in like the arts, it's like, okay, this is going to end at some point, and am I going to get ahead of it, or am I going to be stuck? Like when this closes, like, oh gosh, what am I doing? And so no, like as you're working on your craft, or when you have that listing that's like up and ready, you're working on the next thing, right? To continue to improve and continue to have your business running. And it could have been a number of things. either within the business or outside of the business, so that, you're not always, I guess, connecting your success as a human being with your success as an actor or success as a real estate agent. So like for me, at one point I was into karate, and I was like, okay, I'm going to like learn the craft, learn this art form, learn this, defense, way to, self-defense, to just like progress in something other than, acting. And so, if I had a great day in karate, then I felt positive and happy, and like I was progressing. Just like, now it's for me, it's yoga.
Yeah.
It's a way to every day positively influence my life, be physical, and say like, I'm not just my acting career, or I'm not just, because like in real estate, you do start to get, especially now with social media, you get this personality or this persona that you want to you want to be, and if that is not successful, you're like, I'm not successful as a person.
Yeah.
You can start to connect those things.
100%.
And that's mentally that's very difficult.
And I love that. I love that idea that you're talking about, finding ways to maintain success in other areas so that you don't lose sight of the fact that you're not defined by one thing that you do. And you're right, that this idea of the whole idea of social media, not only does it start to blur the lines between you as a professional and your personal life, you're being told or encouraged, hey, look, you've got to bring your personal life into your social media.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be as successful as you want to be unless people can see you being a real person.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you blur these lines between like, now if I'm failing as a real estate, or if I'm having a tough time as a real estate professional, which a lot of agents in this market are having a tough time. Maybe they're down 20%, maybe they're failing out of the business. Whatever their struggles are, they're not doing what they did last year or the year before. And let's say that that's the agent. If those lines are blurred, now all of a sudden you take all of that stuff home to your family. You've got a family.
Yeah.
It becomes really, really hard to kind of turn it off and say, all right, this was a hard day over here, but I'm not going to make it a hard day over here.
Yeah. The market being bad does not mean you're bad,
Right.
like, and that's that it can get blurred, right? Just like acting. Like there were times where, either I wasn't in a show and I'm like, oh, well, like, who am I? Like, when I'm like, well, wait a second, hold on here. No, I'm not just an actor. I'm also a father and a friend and, and a husband and, all these, brother, all these things.
You do pretty well at those things too.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah. So that is like the goal to really, that is like also one of the other things that's cool about like setting your own goals and your own tasks is that like, no one's telling you these things. So you can define your success, rather than having the outside world, the market defining your success or a sale defining your success or anything. You can just like say, I'm successful because I handled all these things that I said I wanted to do today and the goals that I set for myself last month or last year or whatever. And it's not influenced by all that other stuff.
Right. Just having some control over the things that you can control.
Agency. Yeah. Control of all of that. Yeah.
So, all right. So, I'm going to start now into the transition that you had into real estate and back out, because that for me is fascinating because I want to get a better sense of how that went for you. What was that transition? Why did you do it at the time that you did it? And how'd you feel about that when you made that decision?
Yeah. Oh man, that's deep.
Let's get deep.
COVID, anything you talk about beginning of COVID, everyone's like, well, that's deep. That was an interesting time.
Strange times.
No, yeah. So like, I mean, I've never experienced and I hopefully never will again where an entire industry is gone, like COVID. Okay, don't come to work Thursday. And then it's, don't come next week. Don't come in a month, 2 months, 6 months. You're like, wait, what's happening? Oh my gosh, like this doesn't exist anymore. What do I do? And I was homeschooling the kids at the kitchen table. I'm like, what am I doing now? Like I could be learning while they're learning. What are other things in life that interest me and I'm good at? And I'm like, well, I've bought and sold 4 of my own homes in New York. Yeah. And I always was able to read the market and understand what people like in a home so I could fix a home up and then live in it for a bit and sell it. And so I was like, okay, have a good grasp on the New York market. I'd owned a co-op, a condo, a standalone home, a multifamily. So I'm like, okay, well, I
did it all.
Most of those bases. So I was like, well, let me get my license and get into it. And, through that, I was like, I remember the first time I bought a house in New York. I walked down the street and it said real estate. I was like, I opened the door. I was like, do you have anything that you're selling? A guy was like, what? Exactly. A buyer just walked in. Right. Like he looked like, is this a joke? Is there weren't a lot of cameras at the time, but he was like, what's happening right now?
This is a first reality show. That was before Selling Sunset was walking into a neighborhood real estate office in Queens.
But it was like one guy with like a bunch of it was really like it hadn't been changed since the 60s, and he had them on note cards. I remember he's like, give me a second. He's like fumbling through, and he's like, I can show you these down the street. I'm like, okay. We walked down the street. I said, okay, I'll do that one. He was like, he just like,
I'll do that one.
Yeah. He was like, what? Actually, he went through all the cards, and there was one that was a 2-bedroom that was less than all the rest. And I was like, what's that?
That sounds like
and
value.
He said, I can't show you that. I was like, why? He's like, you won't like it. I was like, show it to me. And I was like, yeah, this is a dirt bucket. Like, I have to do a lot of work.
Perfect.
It's perfect. I thought, like, man, there's so much value. This is the biggest place I've seen. It's a 2-bedroom. I need to do a lot of work on it, but I can do that work, and I can turn it into a really great place for us to live, and at some point probably turn a profit. And I bought it for $151 and sold it for $300 4 years later. Yeah. I was like, okay, that worked. Well, let me do it again. So that was my introduction to real estate. Oh, the long of this is that I remember being like, I don't know anything about this. Like he was giving me papers to sign. I'm like, I don't know what this is. He's saying, oh, this inspection, you got to do this. I'm like, I don't know what that's about. Right. Like, I was so confused. I didn't know the market at all. And I was like, okay, well, in real estate, like, I've been through every single, aspect of, again, co-ops, condos. Like, I could help people, like, understand that better, especially, like, young people like me that had the money and the, drive to, like, want to own something. Like, so I could actually help people out. I know this stuff. So that was like kind of like also the underlying drive to go into real estate. Like it can really help a lot of people, and so that was cool. That was like something I didn't expect to like feel or want, and it helped me to like I think be successful because it was more than like I want to make a ton of money.
Right, having a purpose. Right.
Yeah, having a different purpose than just making money at it. The money comes, but like your drive, your mission statement, like in your head or on your wall or whatever you put it, is like that's what's gonna like be the coal in the engine, rather than money, because that comes and goes.
One of my former bosses used to say, "Money is the byproduct of good work," which I love.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love it.
I agree with him.
I agree with him too. I love also that you were talking about sitting down with your kids, you're homeschooling them, they're learning, and you're like, hey, this is an opportunity for me to learn as well. And so I'm going to take a break, but I want to come back and talk a little bit more about that, because I think that not everybody has that idea that they sit down and go, all right, I've got this downtime, or this isn't working for me or happening for me. Maybe I can go back to school in a sense and learn something new.
Sure, yeah.
So we'll take a break and we'll come back right after this with Mike. Yeah.
From residential and commercial closings to litigation, Romer DeBoss is your full-service real estate law firm. We blend big firm knowledge with boutique-level attention, delivering outcomes that exceed every expectation. Contact us at romerdeboss.com.
I'm Brian Scott Cohen, one of the top loan originators in the country, and the #1 mortgage originator at Guaranteed Rate Infinity. Guaranteed Rate Infinity arguably has the most advanced tech in the industry. Our completely digital loan process makes it easy and efficient for homeowners, from a 15-minute pre-approval to the digital application and through closing. My team and I would love to help you get into the home of your dreams.
And we are back with Mike Cannon. Mike, all right. So we got into that transition, so now you've gotten back into real estate. You obviously have some experience and some knowledge just based on your own experiences as a real estate professional. You go and get your license. Then what? Like, what do you at that? Because we're in the middle of COVID. We have showing restrictions. We have all of that stuff. Like, how did you align yourself with a broker? Tell me all about that.
Yeah, well, I had a friend in real estate in Florida, and they were able to hook me up with the agency up here, and I got like a mentor that I went to like their open house just to understand what an open house was all about. And I have to say it was a wild ride, as much as I had good intentions to, like I said, help people, and like I knew the business. I'm not going to lie. I stood in that open house. She was like, all right, you're going to hang out in here. When they come in, just show them where the bathroom is, whatever. And then I'll send another person in, because you only have one person in the house. And she was outside meeting hopeful people that didn't have agents, like buyers and stuff. Just, just making connections. And I was in there just like turning on the water. But she shut the door and I just like started weeping. I was like, really, like, what has happened like to my life? I was on a Broadway stage like less than 6 months ago. I had a great career. I was I was also in charge of that show. I was the dance captain, so I was at like the top of like my career and doing some really amazing stuff. And then I was starting again. I think that was the hardest thing, is like to start again. You talked about this being people's second career, and maybe having success in another career, and then they say, I want to change, or like, this isn't working, I'm going to change. But it is, no matter how much background you have in real estate, it is starting fresh, and being like, wow, I have a very tall staircase here to walk up to get. I think for me, it was like to get to the success level I felt as an actor, and maybe that wasn't very fair to myself. I should have said, hey, like, again, write down some tasks and goals, and in this field, not as, not comparing it to what I had done in acting. Because acting, I had worked at that for 20 years. I started selling merchandise at the Broadway theaters. Like, I did a lot of grunt work. I sang Christmas carols at Denny's. Like, I did a lot of stuff, I didn't just pop into New York and say, hey, where do I sign up for Broadway? So I was starting.
Is it Broadway? Oh, hey, it's
Mine.
Hey,
what's going on? Yeah, I'll be there. Yep, I'll see you Tuesday. So no, I had to start in square one, and that was really difficult for me. Not gonna lie, and I'm sure that a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
And you're not alone, and it's okay to feel that way, and that's why, again, having something aside from the business to work towards, to benefit yourself, to be positive, to achieve goals daily, and then within the business to have those tasks daily and those short-term goals and those like long-term dreams. I think is very helpful to say, all right, I'm moving. I'm moving in a forward motion.
Yeah, and I think it is really helpful to people who are new to this industry, but also people who know that struggle, whether they're in that struggle or they've had it and it's never really left them. That idea that, look, if the better you are at something before you get into real estate, it's likely that those skills are going to really have an impact in what you do. So you can carry those forward and implement them into your real estate career. But the better you are at something before real estate, it no matter what, you go sliding down that mountain, and now you got to climb back up. And that feeling of, well, gosh, just 6 months ago, I had this great career, and now look, I know there's promise here. I know there's potential with this, but right now it feels like, I'm the guy turning on a faucet in an open house, and I don't even know what the heck I'm doing here.
Yeah. I don't even know what a disclosure is. Like, I don't know what they're signing over there. Like, what form? If I do this by myself next week, what do I need? Like, can I take a picture of the table so I know what forms I have to have out? I was doing all that literally just like, I had like the iPhone camera on in my mind, just like scanning everything. Like, okay, look how they did that. They turned the music on. They lit a candle in the kitchen, and they, when someone comes up to the desk, how they're, speaking to them, and like, so I was like trying to like just take it all in and learn from everyone around. And I would go to open houses in my neighborhood and just walk through them to see how agents approached me as I walked in.
Wow, that's great.
I wasn't like, hey, like I'm a secretive agent. I was just like, hey, like I'm an agent in the neighborhood and I would love to see this property, and, you know, just see how they interacted with people and how they were doing business and who I liked and who I thought, like, that didn't make me feel good when I walked in the door.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you learn a lot, like, going to other people's open houses of, like, the good agents and how it hits the minute you open that door, how you're greeted, as opposed to the ones that don't. You're like, wow,
Yeah.
this is some simple stuff. You walk into a home, you want to feel like you're home.
Right. Right.
Not like you're another number. And go upstairs. There's the bathroom's on the left. Like, no, like, walk them in like it's like, you know, you're introducing them to their new house.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's that part of that you being a student of always like knowing and understanding that there's something to learn and observing all of those things. That's so then tell us what was the big shift? Like, did all of a sudden you get your first listing? What happened that all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm doing it.
Well, I was calling Facebook leads and talking to them and saying like, hey, I saw that you looked at this property on Facebook. I'm in the area if you'd want to see it. And, you know, I got many hang-ups, and I was like, you know, I'd say to my wife, babe, I don't love this. Like, everyone's hanging up on me. Sometimes they say mean stuff to me.
Right.
Like, I'm just trying to, like, you know, use my skills to help people, and I'm getting like some hang-ups, and it doesn't feel good. You know, it doesn't always feel good. Again, for me, it made me feel like me as a person was like interrupting people's lives, or like, not, you know, doing something wrong, and I wanted to help everybody.
Right.
So it was difficult for me, but I just I made, you know, you make 100 calls and maybe one person talks to you, and then you call them back the next week and you make that connection, and they're like, yeah, you can, you know, take me out to see that property. And I turned a lot of Facebook leads into sales, and one was a buy and a sell. It was they sold their property for 1.4 and they bought their other property for 800. So I made a pretty good commission on one phone call.
That's amazing.
And that business helped me, you know, make a name for myself out there. It's like, okay, this guy's doing some good business and he's great to work with. Other agents were like, who are you?
Right.
Where did you come from? Like, we know all the agents out here.
Right.
And so making connections with them, and that's what it's all about. Every business, life, everything is about connections, right?
Yeah.
Meeting people, and, you know, going where you can talk to people and they know you and you know them, and you build a trust and relationship, and not just to do business, but just, you know, to have a great fulfilling life. Right.
Yeah.
So like, just getting out there, just starting, right. Just calling people. And then COVID was tough, but like nowadays, like, you can go places and make connections,
Yeah.
Yeah, wherever it is, the gym, like you know, I don't know, in the park, whatever, I don't know, like, meeting people is like the greatest part of real estate that I found, is like just meeting people, talking to them. Everybody loves to talk about the market. Maybe they own a house. Everyone's got to live somewhere, right?
That's right.
So they love how houses are selling because they have a house and they know it's going up. You know what rents are, you know, because they have a rental property or they need to rent. So everyone always loves to talk about it. So just, you know, making those kind of connections.
And that's I mean, your path. It's to our audience, like, you had to start from nothing. You started by, you know, cold calling Facebook leads and that sort of thing. But that idea that, like, understanding the purpose is to help more people, understanding that the rejection that you get doesn't define you as a person, doesn't define the career. And then having that other things happening, your family and cherishing the family journey that you're on, as well as other interests that you have, so that you're not defined by the one thing that you've got going on. Like, all of that, I think, is such valuable advice for any agent in our market, whether they're new to the business or whether they're just in the middle of a struggle and need to be reminded that, hey, set the tasks, have those short-term goals, and have those dreams.
Yeah.
And always have those things.
Yeah.
I love it.
And Yeah, and I guess also focus on like what are you like, what are some of your strengths as a human being? Like for me, like again, like I like to be physical, I like to be at the gym. So like yeah, I have a membership to, Lifetime, and at Lifetime I'm meeting people, hanging out, like talking. Hey, oh, what's that exercise you're doing? We're meeting, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, what do you do? I'm like, oh, well, I at the once COVID was done, I'm in real estate, and oh. Well, my buddy is about to buy a place. I'm trying to get someone to move here, and that's like how it all happens, right? So like, what areas of your life do you have other interests in, and meet people there, and make connections, and then and the good intentions of wanting to help people. Then like again, like the business and the money will all kind of follow, right?
Well, now okay, so I'm gonna ask you one more question. It's been such, I think, so many good gems for our audience. But I mentioned in the opener that you now taken all of this knowledge that you have from as a stage and screen actor, as well as all of the other entrepreneurial stuff you've done, and now you've created the Broadway Edge with Jen, with your wife. So tell us a little bit about that. Yeah,
that's just that's straight giving back and saying, okay, like, I did all these awesome things in my career, and I learned so much. It's like, it's getting your master's degree, is being able to work with these great Broadway directors and other great Broadway actors and TV and film directors and actors. Like, just like, again, my whole career, I just sat there and took it all in. I knew I had skills, but I'm like, I want to learn more skills. So I would, learn from other people. And I'm like, okay, now I have that whole package, and I can help kids or adults that with these things that I didn't have when I was that age. I guess again, like real estate, like when I first bought my house, I didn't know this stuff. I can help people. Well, now, like when I first started out as an actor, I didn't know all this stuff. I can go help people. So like you're trying to pass it on, and pass on not only the technical aspect, things that you learn within acting and singing and dancing, but also the business side of it. And understanding of relationships are the most important thing that matters. We love going to universities and teaching, and then they say like, what is like something what's like the best advice you can give us? And I'm like, all these people you're in school with right now, everyone in your class, you can all journey through this business together, make these relationships matter and count. Because I know when I was in college, and I feel awful about it, I always had that idea of, okay, I'm going to work hard here, and these people in class with me are great, they're awesome. I was not mean, but I'm like, I was so focused on getting better that I'm like, when I get to Broadway, when I do this, when I do that I didn't nurture relationships within school. And I'm like, as you progress through the business, if you have these kind of relationships and you can be a force through life to help each other out, that is a huge plus. That is, and so like that is, I think, one of the most important things, and things we love to tell our students, is the relationships, building them along the way within the business. I
mean, that's obviously, again, the correlation to real estate is so clear. And that idea that this is all about building those relationships and bringing people along. And there is competition in this business, but the collaboration is what gets you through, that creates those relationships, that fosters all of those relationships that end up lifting you when you need to be lifted. Yeah. So,
I talk to people all the time, the successful people in my business who I'm still learning from. I'm like, hey, how did you get your first directing job? He said, well, a friend of mine. How many times does someone say that? How did you do this? Well, a friend of mine. Like, who doesn't need more friends? And not just for the business aspect, but when you do find that success, who do you share it with? Who do you call and say, hey, I got this thing, or I'm doing this thing, and everyone celebrates you, and vice versa. That's huge in life, and that makes you feel more successful, I think, than anything.
Well, Mike, I'm thrilled to call you a friend, and I'm so glad that you came here to share this with all of us. If you wouldn't mind, tell our audience where they can find you if you're around on social media. And all that stuff.
I'm at. I think I switched it a few times. I'm Mike Cannon official.
Yeah.
There's a comedian in New York
we'll
called
put it in
Mike,
the show notes.
Mike Cannon.
Oh, really?
And so I'm like, oh, there's another Mike Cannon in
So
New
you're the
York. Come on.
official.
Mike Cannon official.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the show notes.
But our company is at the Broadway Edge on Instagram, and then we're at the Broadway Edge .org for our website. So that's where you can find me.
Mike, thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
And,
thank you so much.
and this has been such a meaningful conversation because your story and the stories that you shared with us remind us that success is rarely a straight line. It's built through sacrifice, reinvention, setbacks, discipline, courage, and the willingness to keep showing up when the path is uncertain. And I think that is such an important message for our audience. Whether you're in real estate, entrepreneurship, performance, leadership, sales, or any career that requires you to create your own opportunities, there are going to be moments when you question yourself, moments when you question your abilities, when you question your readiness. There will be moments when you feel behind, when you feel like you're starting over, when you wonder whether working is actually working for you. But those moments are not data points trending toward failure. They're often the moments where the pins inside the lock are being set. And as we remind you on the Shear Line every episode, inside of a tumbler lock, nothing opens until the right combination of grooves, cuts, and teeth lift the pins and align to create what we call the shear line. When that happens, the key turns and the door opens. Growth works in the same way. The setbacks, the pivots, the rejection, the discipline, the practice, the humility, and the courage may not feel connected in the moment, but each one can become a part of the combination that unlocks what's possible next. And that's Shear Line, everyone. As a reminder, you can support this show by following us, subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just go to getmorenetwork.com, and there you can check out all of the fantastic shows on the network, including past episodes of Shear Line. You can follow me all over Instagram at archway.partners, as well as on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Eirik the Expert. You can contact the Excelsior team at BHS by going to bhsusa.com, and you can connect with my coaching company, Archway Partners Coaching, by going to archwaypartnersinc.com. And you can learn all about our new Archway Partners immersive platform, where we have all kinds of micro-learning, small group coaching on a weekly basis, so check that out. And as all of you remember, as I said before, there's a key for every lock, but it's the right combination of grooves, cuts, and teeth that lift the pins and create the shear line. Until next time, keep turning curiosity into connection, mystery into mastery, and keep unlocking what's possible. We'll see you next time, everybody.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business. And it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.